This show is brought to you by Whatever You Say Productions, starting conversations since 2018.
Welcome to Game Over, everybody. You got Kirk here. I'm a little sad and lonely, and I have no co-host with me this week. I'm going to be by myself saying what I have to say to all of you. Just kidding. I got a new person here I want to introduce. We got Sarah, and she's going to be a new co-host joining Game Over. How you doing, Sarah?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Kirk?
I'm doing fantastic. It's just the two of us this week. You scared everybody else off
I
with your big
know.
introduction.
I know. Too big. Too big.
Too big. Everybody else is afraid. No, we're super excited to have you here and have you with the guys next week and coming weeks. So I want to jump into your introduction and then we'll kind of get into the rest of the segments here. But as we do with everybody else, we wanted to get to know you a little bit. So let's jump into the three questions of how long have you been playing games for? What was your favorite game when you were just a wee little lady? And your favorite game of all time?
Okay. So I've been playing games for about 10 years. I did have access to my friend's video game console when I was growing up and played Super Mario Brothers on N64 a little bit. But my favorite game since I started gaming was probably Borderlands 2.
Ooh.
And my favorite game of all time is actually a game that is no longer a game. And that would be Paragon.
Oh, yeah. I remember that game. Correct me if I'm wrong, because a couple of these games came out around the same time, but that was the similar counterpart to Overwatch, if I'm not mistaken, in
A
types of
little
game
bit.
style.
A little bit. It was a MOBA, 3 lanes, but you had cards to determine your abilities and your skill points and your different attack modes and defense modes. It was a lot of fun. And they're working on a new one now. Paragon actually released the software, so another team is taking over and working on building a whole new Paragon.
Nice. I remember that game coming out. I think I might have actually had a weekend beta pass for that. Is that the one that's in first person view?
No,
Okay.
it is in. I think it's in third person. I'm bad at these terms, so all I know is you can see the full character as you're speaking.
So third person, either that or if it, I don't know if it was a top-down type one like League of Legends or Dota, but I don't think it was that type of game. I think it was more similar to Overwatch style where it was just not in first person.
Yeah, I agree.
So going into that real quick, I'm curious because MOBAs are huge in my gaming life and world. What type of role and what type of hero, if that's the colloquial term for them in Paragon, was your favorite to play?
I was Greystone. He was a big melee guy with his sword. So I really like the melee characters. The just run head first into battle.
Wing at everything.
Yep.
Vanguard type person. Is it like a tank type class or is it more like dishing out tons of damage?
It was in between the two. Not a full tank, but not a glass cannon either.
Okay. So it can take a little bit of a hit, but isn't absorbing everything. Do you know when they're releasing the new Paragon?
They were supposed to be releasing a closed beta for lucky PC players, but that just got pushed back, so I don't have any dates yet. They're still pretty early development.
TBD. Well,
Yeah.
I'll keep an eye out for it because I definitely love games like that. You know, if it's MOBA style and all the fun lore that comes with it, I'm sure I'll enjoy it.
Yes, definitely. The new one's going to be called Core, just so you know what to look for.
All right,
Yeah.
Core, coming to a PC near you.
Yeah.
Well, we've got a lot of fun segments to cover today. I think we have patch notes. I think patch notes and free for all. I think we have a few patch notes segments. So we're going to jump into the first one here, appropriately titled now. Let's jump into Sarah Says.
Hey guys, it's Sarah, and I'm here to talk about games that are pissing people off, why I maybe think they shouldn't be pissing people off, and what they're all about. So today I'm going to talk about Anthem, which is a newer game from BioWare, and it's a third-person looter shooter, and you have your one pilot that can have 4 different javelins, which are suits of armor, and they're basically different classes. You have the Colossus, the Storm, the Ranger, and the Interceptor. You explore the world of Bastion while trying to keep the Anthem of Creation out of the hands of the bad guys, because the Anthem of Creation can create or destroy anything. So that's the gist of the story. And lately, people are honestly saying it's a dead game, even though it's not that old. The loot drop rate for legendaries, which is how often you can get high level gear, is not very good at all. I play almost every day and I've gotten maybe 2 or 3 legendaries. And then there are server issues where people are getting kicked from the game for no reason and they have to restart the game completely. And then most recently, I saw a story today. Someone was able to return their copy of Anthem on grounds of fraud because they have jumped off their roadmap, which is their plan for when they're going to release new content. Now, I personally love this game. Like I said, I play it every day. I haven't gotten the server issues too much, getting kicked from the game, but I have experienced the loot drop rate issue. But they did just release a new Stronghold, which the only thing I can compare it to is a strike in Destiny. But the gameplay in this game, the flying mechanics, the character variety, and the different play styles, and just the setting of the world all make up for those cons, I think. And I think when they come out with new material, it will definitely be worth it.
Sounds like there's a lot of good that they have going for them, and they, in my opinion, from what it seems like with server issues and not adhering to their roadmap and I guess kind of tweaking the drop rate for legendaries, do you think maybe they just released it before they were ready to release it?
It's hard to say because it was in development for 6 years.
Wow.
And the storyline is incredible. And the side stories are even incredible. Like, you want to talk to the minor characters. It's worth it. So I don't know if they released it too soon, because I don't know if they could have held off hopeful fans much longer since it had been in development for so long.
Right. Yeah, I mean it's crazy how long it takes all the things to get just right. When you think of some of the best games that have come out there and the timeline that it took to release it. And I think even nowadays people are just, especially with online games like that, people are expecting so much from them. They want a good story, they want incredible graphics, they want the cutscenes to look pristine and flow really nicely. But then getting into the nitty gritty, they also want they want their loot, they want them purples, they want their high quality items and things to be paying off for the time that they're investing. There's just a lot of demand out of them, and while 6 years sounds like a long time, it probably is on somewhat of like the mid-level range for start to finish from a game. What do you think it's going to take for them to get this right and do right by the fans without losing too much of their base already?
I think they need to come out with a new roadmap ASAP, and probably some new smaller events, maybe not the high level of new content that we're all expecting, but they need to put out some new content soon and definitely fix the server issues.
Yeah, I mean, I do love that concept of including the roadmap, because in my opinion and from what I've seen with other games, I don't know that they necessarily always owe that to the fans. So if you open that door and put that out there for your customer base, you're opening a door you might not want to open. But I do love when they have at least something to say, like, here's what you can expect throughout 2019 or however long the roadmap goes. Because, for example, a game that I am still playing pretty regularly is Dead by Daylight. They don't really they haven't released like a 2019 roadmap, but they do release saying that a new killer comes out quarterly. So adhering to that, at least, it's just like a new character in the game. That's something that you can, get used to and be ready to have in the game without having to promise, I guess, too much to the community. So it's just good when they do that. But if you go off that, roadmap or that plan that you're doing, people are going to be pissed. They're going to get the backlash, and I personally think it's deserved that BioWare is getting this feedback. If they're not adhering to their roadmap, you're expecting something, Sarah. You're not getting it. You're not getting it from BioWare.
Can I ask a question? I'm sorry to keep dropping in. I'm just fascinated. Do you guys find that a lot of times when companies or developers will release a new game, that people are usually just, oh, well, it could load faster, it could do this, it could do this. Is it typical to have a lot of negative critiques? Or is this, incident that's happening with Anthem, is this sort of isolated to that game?
I think there's a lot of incidences of toxicity and negativity and kind of getting your hopes up too high and being let down.
Why do you think that is? Do you think it's just because it's 2018, 2019, and, if we can have a levitating car, which, do we have a levitating car? I don't know. I feel like we do. But, why do you think? Is the bar just set so high? Is the expectation too high? Kirk, what do you think it is?
I think there's just so much readily available nowadays with the Epic Game Store, with Steam, with the PlayStation Store, Xbox Store. I mean, you can find all types of different games everywhere. So if you are really following something and really expecting this to be, the one to change everything, there's just so many other avenues you can turn to if they aren't delivering, that it's just kind of being inundated with all these different games. If there's even like a tiny semblance of something that's wrong, or you can compare it to something else that did it better, there's just a lot of things out there to compare it against.
Are there a lot of forums, or do people just take to Tumblr, Reddit, Twitter, whatever, to express their unflattering opinions? Or are there certain forums that are dedicated just to people critiquing new games that are coming out, or gaming news in general, or pro gamers? Where do these conversations take place?
I'd say Reddit is a pretty big outlet for it. Steam has their own forums per game that you can comment on, the community forums. And there's also just independent people that are creating forums for various games. I think that last one's a little less common than it was maybe 10 years ago, but they also have, gaming websites like IGN and Polygon and things like that, where they'll put out news like through there, and people take to the comments and either rip it to shreds or say, this is the best thing ever.
Yes. Sarah, I have a question, my dear, as a fellow woman, as someone who sits around and spectates this, level with me. Is it mainly men that are complaining, or are there women kind of getting sort of elbowing through the crowd to raise their hand and share their distaste for games? What's that ratio like?
I think it's mainly men, but
men are trash. Men are trash.
But there definitely are women out there that are petty about it too.
Do you think that they're petty because they're actually unimpressed or dissatisfied, or do you think they're being petty because they want to garner attention towards themselves and the brands that they're trying to build around their identity?
I'd say a bit of both, mixed with wanting to go with the crowd. If the crowd is saying the game sucks, then a girl who finds it harder to fit into this community is gonna go with the crowd.
Now, as a woman in gaming Sarah, you and I have been friends. I shall not expose our age, but we've been friends for over 20 years. And I know you very well. You're very live and let live, but don't be a dick. That's sort of your mantra.
Yeah.
As a woman who has that
Good
kind of
mantra.
mentality, yeah, Sarah's great. I don't know if you guys are friends on Facebook, but she always finds the best shit to post. And I literally call Facebook Sarah Book because she's constantly on. She's posting memes, she's posting comics, she's posting all sorts of shit. Every once in a while, she'll get very sentimental and she'll talk about mental health awareness and all these wonderful causes that she's passionate about. But for the most part, like today on Sunday, she posted a grid photograph of 9 different medieval drawings of cats, one of whom had a dick in its mouth. I'm like, ooh, me. So, yeah, you guys should definitely be friends. But Sarah, as someone who very much is like, hey, as long as you're not being a dick, I'm just going to let you do what you do. Do you do anything? Do you react when you see these people tearing a game to shreds in some sort of a forum? Like, do you step up and say, "Excuse you," but you don't know what the fuck you're talking about? Or are you just like, they're stupid?
I pretty much just go with, they're stupid and annoying. And the better way to support the game is to actually play it
Yeah.
and talk about it in other ways and promote it to people who are actually going to listen.
Got it. All right. Sorry. I will go back into the people I know. Ian is going to be like, you can't keep coming into the podcast. I have a video of him during the very first Game Over recording when neither of you were a part of the show yet. Officially, I was sending out your contracts and sweating, hoping that you would sign and agree to come on board. But I have a picture of Ian from the first recording, and he's trying to record, and we were at my apartment, so I'm standing over his shoulder, and he turns around and he's like, I thought you weren't going to be a part of this. I can't help myself. I got so excited. But anyways, I know that you guys want to go into patch notes next because the Borderlands 3 live stream wasn't it today? Today
Yes.
being Wednesday. Ooh, girl. Okay, I'm going to step back. Kirk, you introduce. I'm leaving. I mean, I'm here, but I'm leaving. Sorry.
Back
Goodbye.
to your hole.
Yeah, back to my hole. Goodbye.
No, thank you, Sam. So without further ado, let's just jump right into it. Patch notes. All right, everybody. Borderlands 3 live stream, live gameplay event. I unfortunately didn't get to see too much of it today because I've started a new job and I'm very, very busy, man. But I did get to hear a little bit about it because while I am busy, Borderlands 3 and that game and gaming in general is now part of my day-to-day work. So I did get to hear a little bit about it. Sarah, do you have more? Did you check out more of the event? Because I would love to hand this over to you because if you had seen it, if you had read stuff about it, you probably know more than I do.
Yeah, I tuned in a little late, but I caught the live stream, and it was epic. This game is going to be amazing. I cannot wait.
And compared to your favorite game growing up, Borderlands 2, which was not my favorite game, but I'd say it falls in, no, it's probably top 10 for me. It's so much fun. You can kill so many hours on that. Run us through it. What's going on in 3? What are they? Is it a lot of the same? Is there any big differences that you noticed, or what's happening there?
Well, it's the same art style. It's the same comedic style. The bandits have their same dialogue with those ridiculous threats that they come out with. So it's a lot of the same, but a lot different. There's a lot more loot. There's more bosses to earn more loot. And you can get the guns that the bosses drop, and they can be your guns, which is awesome.
Forever and ever. I remember what I did see today. There was, I hope I can remember this elemental type weapon from Borderlands 2, Slag. Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that one? They're getting rid of that in Borderlands 3, are they not?
Yeah, they're replacing it with radiation, which I'm not 100% sure on what that's going to be doing, but I know that I did catch them say when a radiated enemy dies, they'll explode and get radiation on other nearby enemies.
Love that.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, love a good exploding enemy, your own personal grenade in a crowd. For those that don't remember, and Sarah being the resident expert on Borderlands 2, if I say this wrong, just scream at me and tell me to stop. Slag in Borderlands 2 was a type of elemental weapon that you would get, or a type of element that would be a part of your weapons that you would get. And it was pretty necessary towards the late part of the game, as it amplified, I believe, all the damage that you would do to an enemy. So you kind of had your slag weapon that you'd throw on your enemy and then switch to whatever other thing you wanted to really pump out the damage. Was that right? Did I fuck up slag?
Nope, I think that's about it. Yeah.
It's been
I definitely
some
remember
time.
using it for late game, so
It was pretty important from what I remember. And Steve, US Steve, who is not with us tonight, he and I played quite a bit of Borderlands 1, sort of couch co-op style, and then Borderlands 2 when he was down in Maryland and I was up in New Jersey. So I want to get everybody in here, but when Borderlands 3 comes out, we're going to have to split off into a couple of different games, unless, I don't know if you heard anything about this, but are we able to have more than 4 people in a game?
They may have said that at the beginning that I missed, but I didn't hear anything about that.
Boo.
So it might still only be 4.
Yeah, we'll have to split off, and you take a couple guys. Maybe you could have Ian. He's pretty good at sitting in the back and picking people off.
Please take Ian.
Yeah, you take Ian. I don't want him.
Ian, we love you, but someone please take Ian. I can't have him anymore.
You show him the ropes as the Borderlands 2 pro when 3 comes out. Plus, he's probably not going to be one that's waiting like the PC people here. He'll be playing on PlayStation. But if I have to wait 6 months to play it, I'm probably going to be playing on PlayStation 2 because that's just too long. But I digress. I did see also today that the people that got to play Borderlands 3 got 3 hours of gameplay that were able to, when they signed up, as opposed to, I feel like most of these games when they're, doing the live stream or live gameplay event like that, it's like 30 minutes and then get off and make room for the annoying kid that's been screaming behind you. 3 hours seems like a good amount of time to explore in this, does it not?
Yeah, I'm guessing it's because it's such a big game. They're saying it's the biggest Borderlands yet, and we know there's multiple planets to go to. So today's live stream for like the guests to play was just on one planet. It wasn't on any of the other planets, as far as I know.
Oh wow! Do we know how many planets have they said?
No, they haven't released that yet.
I think they'll probably keep that a little close to the vest, but that's pretty cool. I mean, all the other ones were, I don't think they were multiple planets, right? I think it was just the one.
Yeah, just the one planet each time.
Yeah.
But what I'm really excited about is loot instancing, which is a different loot for different players. So when you go co-op, online, if I'm a level 5 and I'm playing with you and you're a level 25, when I open a chest or a toilet or whatever, I'm going to see gear. Yep. I'm going to see gear that shows up at level 5. And that same toilet or box or chest is going to have level 25 gear for you.
That's so cool. I feel like a lot of these games are doing that now. Whereas back in the day, like Diablo, we had talked about that last week. They tried to de-incentivize people to have higher level players play with lower level players as a way of like running them through it. But I think a lot of games have kind of moved away from that. One, I think they don't want to restrict somebody that, just has more time on it that might be showing them the ropes. But 2, I think they have like the technology in place where they can kind of adjust the difficulty down or up so that it's sort of an even playing field, so that you're not like just slaughtering through everybody as 25, but then also it's still worthwhile for you. You're still getting loot from that toilet that is level 25, and there's still loot for the other people that's level 5. I mean, it's cool how they're making it all encompassing and not, punishing people that are maybe have more free time than others, I'll say, in a nice way.
Yeah, and there's the damage scaling, which I think you were referencing.
Right. Yeah, go ahead, talk into that a little bit.
So, like, the way they described it was, like, a level 10 fighting a level 15, but playing with a level 25. The game will be on the level 10's character, but the level 25 will be as if they're fighting a level 30, if that made sense.
Yeah, so they'll adjust it accordingly.
Yeah, so you can play with all your friends, and it doesn't matter what level they are. They're still going to have fun. They're still going to get loot. You're still going to have fun, and you're still going to get loot. And it's not going to be a dragging you along type situation or competition for loot, but they have classic mode if you want it to be a competition for loot and such.
So they're still going to keep that in there for the people that are like, if I can climb up the top of this cliff before you and get to that purple, then it's mine and not yours.
Yeah.
I like that kind of competition style. I'm going to throw a challenge out here for our guys that are doing whatever they're doing tonight and not able to record with us. But Steve from the US and Ian used to always get on my case when we'd play World of Warcraft together because I, for some reason, would always be able to level faster than them. And I don't really think it was a time thing. I think we all kind of had the same equal amount of time in college, and for some reason I was just better at leveling than they were. So I'm going to throw the challenge out there to them since they're not here to defend themselves, and maybe we'll hear about it next week. You think you guys will be able to catch up to me when we go into Borderlands? When we go into whatever planet it is that I'm blanking on the name that Sarah probably knows?
Pandora and Promethea are the ones announced.
Ooh, Pandora. Pandora's the one from before. Promethea, I think, is new.
Yes.
All right. So when we jump into Pandora and Promethea, Ian, Steve, and even Byrne, and even you, Sarah.
Yeah.
Try and keep up with the pro leveler here.
All right. I'll take that bet.
We'll go into it. Awesome. Any final thoughts on the live stream or Borderlands 3 when it becomes available?
Just that I am excited for the new types of guns they have. Like the TDR guns in the old games, when you'd throw them away, they'd explode. Now different ones send out different effects. There's one with homing beacons, one with like a bouncing ball of explosions, and of course there's the gun with legs, which is amazing. I saw it in action, and I can't wait to get
legs. One. I forgot about that. Guns with legs, yeah. That was in the teaser trailer. It was pretty amazing. Was it just as cool in the live stream?
Yeah, it was even cooler to see it actually shooting something. And like someone sending it out. It's going to be worth it.
Awesome. Well, we're all super excited. September 13th?
13th. Yep.
September 13th. We got 4.5 months to go, and we'll all be on Pandora and Promethea. And if anybody out there wants to jump in there with us, you can be on Ian's team.
Yes. So that's my team too.
Can I play? I'm just kidding.
If we can get you off of Fortnite Mobile for 5 minutes.
It's actually a really good game for beginners.
Is it?
Well, Borderlands 2 was.
Okay. You know, my issue with gaming, it's not even an issue. So something that I have historically been horrible at is any sort of game where I have to drive something, whether it's a bike or a car, a bus, a boat. Does this involve driving?
It can, but if you're playing with someone else, they can drive and you can sit in the gunner seat.
Girl, that's just like when we play Fortnite. I'm like, Sarah, are you gonna drive? And you're like,
and I'm horrible at driving.
Kirk, you should play Fortnite with us.
You're a driver.
I that's about all I could probably do in Fortnite. Fine. I will not build a single thing unless it's to get to somewhere higher. I will not spin in a circle and build a tower around myself to protect myself from.
Well, you know, my friend Joe, who I play Fortnite with, and shout out to Joe because he listens to your show. He loves it. He's such a good friend that for the past 6 months, he has dutifully listened to Game Over and been like, oh, here I am. But now that we have Game Over, he's like, fuck dicks and politics. What did I just say? Heavens. No, that's not what I meant. I had a little whiskey a minute ago. Okay. Joe has been listening to Dicks and Politics, which is my show, for the past 6 months, and he's sort of, had to grin and bear it. But now that we have game over, he's like, yes, very this. So I play Fortnite with him, and he chooses not to build. So he doesn't go chopping away at anything. He doesn't build. He just goes and he gets weapons, and he's like, Sam, if you're going to do it, you need to be fearless and just go into it. So he just shoots him.
Joe, you're the hero that I aspire to be someday.
I met him at driver's ed when he's still in my phone as Mute, like that's his name. We met at driver's ed when we were 16, and I think everyone can probably tell by now that I'm very preppy and I'm like, oh, bing bong. Joe was so antisocial. So he was the one kid in driver's ed that was dressed in all black, long, shaggy hair. And they gave us a 15-minute break, I think, during the course to just sort of go outside and hang out and take a breather. And I saw him sitting all by himself, so I walked over to him. I'm like, hi, my name is Sam. What's your name? Didn't say anything. I'm like, well, my name is Sam, and I'm from this town. What town are you from? You look like you're from this town, but you're probably actually from this town, but I don't really know. I really like to talk, and you're not really talking, so I'm just going to keep talking. So I really like cats. I like to go outside. And for the whole 15-minute break, he didn't say anything. He just stared at me as I talked at him. And then I was like, we should be friends, like friends in real life. Can I have your phone number? I just got a cell phone. I just have a Nokia. What do you have? Do you have a Singular? Do you guys remember Singular Wireless before it was AT&T?
Oh, yeah.
Way back.
And he gave me his number, and I'm happy to say we've been friends ever since. So, yeah, I might have to get him to come on as a guest host because he plays a lot of different games. But any Hoodles Noodles, yeah, he just goes on and shoots everyone and tells me to just stand behind a tree while he shoots, and that's our friendship. Anyway, I'm sorry.
If we get Joe on here, will he say anything to us, or will he be much
No,
like your
he talks
conversation?
now. Yes. Oh, yes. We were discussing this the other day. He talks now. He didn't start talking until about 5 years ago, and ever since then, I can't get him to shut up.
Well,
all right.
Maybe he had like a little mermaid thing, and
he did.
Ursula stole his voice
Ursula
or something.
stole his voice. And then we went to the pirate ship in Fortnite, broke the shell, got it back, and now Joe talks, and we're all good. No, he's a great guy, and he really knows what he's talking about. And
we'll get Joe on here as a special
guest,
co-host guest for an episode or so.
Okay, I'm going back to my hole now.
Yeah, back to your hole. Be gone. All right, I'm closing out this patch notes segment, and we'll jump right into free for all.
I'm back. I'm invited to free for all.
This you can come out of your hole for.
Yes. Okay, Sarah, girl, let's get to know you. I am so excited for people to get to know you better, and it's so cute because the Game Over guys have been saying Sarah's a sleeping beast, like she's a sleeping giant. She really knows what she's talking about. When is she going to come on the show? And so I sort of dangled the opportunity like a carrot, or in our case, a piece of fried chicken in front of your face. And you were like, yes. So, Sarah, let's talk about how you and I became friends. It's quite the tale. And I will say, Sarah, you and I have grown up to be very, very different people, but still very similar. And I'm so glad that we've been able to kind of find our friendship again as adults and become a regular part of each other's lives. I'm tickled by it. So, Sarah, why don't you tell everyone how you and I were first introduced?
Okay, so our parents went to the same church. So we went to the same, youth group, church,
school, whatever.
Yeah, all that. And one day we got our hands on a Bible. And
I don't even think Kirk's heard this story.
I have not, but I am excited for where this goes with getting your hands on a Bible. Go ahead.
And I remember it was one of those Bibles where anything Jesus said was in red, everything else was in black.
Yes.
And so we got to this paragraph that just started out, he who, and for some reason that just made us die laughing.
It's the funniest thing we had ever read/heard in our entire lives. So,
it was fantastic.
Yep. So
and
now you're in my phone
it.
on Yahoo.
Yep, same here.
Yep. Am I really? Oh,
Yes.
I'm so honored. Yes. Oh, that makes me so happy. So then I would like to add that like neither of our families go to church anymore. So that
Nope.
is that didn't really stick. But I have the funniest Kirk. You're gonna love this. Because this is really the first time that you and Kirk have spoken directly to each other. So we all work at my company, but you and Kirk haven't really directly communicated. So I'm tickled that you guys get along so well. So Kirk, you'll love this.
Yoo-hoo.
Sarah and I were in the same first grade class, and Sarah has a beautiful singing voice. She has a beautiful
Thank
everything,
you.
but she really has a beautiful singing voice. So back in the 90s, I'm only 20 years old. What do you mean? So back in the 90s, when Sarah and I were in first grade, they still had the bathrooms inside of the classroom because you can't trust a 6-year-old to go wandering around the halls. And Sarah went into the bathroom in the middle of like an arithmetic lesson. And our teacher is up at the chalkboard and she's going over like, okay, and 1 + 1 = 2. And all of a sudden from the bathroom, you hear, you just hear,
Oh my God, like
Opera singing.
opera singing?
yes, you just hear her. And I wash my hands in the sink.
Oh my God.
And
Teacher stops the lesson, and then Sarah comes out of the bathroom. Nobody says anything, and then about 45 minutes later, she goes to head back into the bathroom, and our teacher goes, no, you've already given us a concert for today. Please sit down and finish your test, and then you can go to the bathroom. And Sarah had on the cutest little like pink sweatpants with like a matching floral turtleneck with thick socks and cute little sneakers. And Sarah, the look on your face was like, fuck, everyone heard my concert.
That's my private singing time, and everybody heard it.
And it must have been a common occurrence for me to sing like that because I don't remember this story at all.
Oh, I will never forget it. So anyway, so
Combination
Sarah,
of Fergie and Jesus.
Yes,
exactly.
that is me.
Jesus.
He who.
So ever since then, Sarah and I have sort of shared this, common love for music and creativity and nature and cats, especially cats. Oh my God, Mom, come on.
I need to get Bella. Bella, come on.
I really want to include this Bella bit at the
I
end.
Yeah.
I can't. So yeah, we've shared a mutual love for all things cats and mental health and music and laughing at everything. Sarah, tell me something about you that not a lot of people know.
When I was little, and I tried to keep this under wraps for as long as possible, I very, very seriously wanted to change my name to Sparkle Heart Diamond Princess.
Wow. If that's not a good alias for gaming now, would you kind of fulfill that?
I would sign quote unquote artwork with that.
It's
Anything
not
not
quote-unquote
official.
artwork. You're a very talented artist. Don't be modest. I think.
Well, not back then. Not back then.
So now at the ripe old age of 31, like, would you change your name to that?
Absolutely not.
Oh my God.
Actually, on that kind of funny-ish story, at least I think it is. So I don't have a middle name. I don't. My parents never bestowed one upon me as a child.
Can I give you one?
So this is where I went with this. When we were taking the standardized tests, I think in like 3rd grade, and it's like the first time that everybody really is like, oh, my middle name is Eric, and I'm Michael, and I'm Kevin. I was like, what the hell? Why don't I have a middle name? So I was like, you know what? No, I'm getting a middle name right now. So on my standardized tests, I wrote Kirk, I wrote my last name, and under the middle name, I wrote Paul. So I gave
right.
myself the middle
There
name
you go.
of Paul, and it took forever for them to get my standardized test results back because there is no Kirk Paul, last name I will not say. And
That's
I messed
really
all
funny.
this up, and actually I kept it going for a while with like arcade games when you you get the high score and you have to put in your initials. KPH. Those are my initials for a lot of arcade games. Made up my own. Maybe it's a gaming thing.
So speaking of gaming, as we get back on track, I have two questions for both of you. So Sarah, I'll address the first one with you. So there's like first person shooter, second person shooter, third person shooter. What are those? And is there another person shooter, or is that it?
So first person shooter is where the screen is showing what you would be seeing.
Okay.
Third person
FPS. Yes, Ian
Yes.
taught me that. Okay.
Third person shooter, you can actually see your character.
So is that like Fortnite?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Okay. Is there a second person shooter, or is it just first or third?
I'm not 100% certain, but I don't think there's a second person shooter.
We just skip over second. Kirk, is there a second person shooter?
There is not, because I think a second person shooter would be like you shooting somebody, but from the perspective of the enemy that you're shooting.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah.
I don't think, maybe bullet time type stuff, but no, first and third.
So, okay, so I'm gonna edit that out. I'm editing tonight, by the way. That's gonna be cute. I'll stop drinking. Just give me a hot chocolate second to form my thoughts. Okay, so Star Wars Battlefront. I played that with my ex-boyfriend. Shout out to Adam. Hey, how's it going? We're still friends. It's all good. I did not like that game. Did either of you play that game?
I did not play that game, but my fiance did, who I have to shout out because he helped me prepare for this.
Oh my God! Wait, can we also shout out Anthony for playing Fortnite with us the other night?
Yes.
And he was like, "Well, this has been fun," and then he left.
And I'm gonna go win games now.
Again.
And Sarah and I were hiding up in trees. He's like, "Well, I need to go water my plants." And then
I've got to go return some videotapes.
He just left. So Sarah, what viewpoint is that game in?
Oh, I forget. I can find out.
I don't like it. Whatever it was.
It depends which Battlefront it was. If it's the one that just came out like a couple years, like a year or two ago, I think it was.
Yes.
So I didn't play that because I had a vehement opposition to what they did to that game. That's for another podcast, but I believe they actually had both in that. I think primarily it was first person, where it's the camera is as if it's like stuck in the person's head and sticking out their eyes.
Okay.
But I think they had some parts to that where you could switch to third person for different things.
Yeah. You know, honestly, for that, we played it on Xbox. I'll blame Xbox for that. I think it just, and I know I said this in an earlier episode. I don't know if Adriana edited or if Sarah's also an audio engineer. So I don't know if Sarah edited it out, but like, I didn't like playing that game because I felt like there were millions of different directions that I could look in. And I really just wanted to like run straight and hide. So much like what I do in Fortnite, just run straight, hide in a bunker. Okay, here's my second question, and Kirk, I will ask you. So a lot of times I feel like you guys are talking about people that are complaining about lag times and loading times and all these different things, and those conversations typically lead back to you guys talking about a server. So here's my question. When a developer comes out with a game, do they have one single server for that game? So like if it's a game out of France, there's one server in France, or do they have a server in the US, in Canada, in the UK, and so on and so forth?
So generally what they do is, depending on the size of the game and kind of the expected user base. They'll have multiple servers, but they won't just do it like based on country. So a lot of times what they'll do is they'll put one in like Chicago, one in a little further west, like
Got it. Okay.
Arizona, California, New York, and then depending on like how much they actually need, they'll start popping in more depending on if there's more people in, you know, the East Coast versus the West Coast or things like that. But the one that gets shafted a lot of the times, and it's sad to say because one of my best friends, shout out to Kev, is over in Australia. Australia really gets the shit end of the stick with servers. They usually have to like pop into like somewhere in like the Asian countries servers, and their latency is not great, and for whatever reason Australia just doesn't get servers. Maybe they're worried about kangaroos destroying them.
Poor Australia. That's really sad to hear. So all right, so Sarah, you know, I'll stop talking like this. Sarah, you have been a friend of mine for many, many years, and you have also been working at WISP for what, 5 months, 4 months?
I think it might only be 2 or 3 months.
What? No.
Three.
3?
3 months. You brought me on in February.
Oh, I did. I was overloaded. Yes, that makes sense. But I want to say this. I've said this to you, of course, you know, over text, over the phone, in person, whatever, but I'd like to say it on air that you have 100% earned your spot, not only at WISP, but also on the show. And I'm really excited that you're going to be a part of this group and keeping these guys on their toes and them keeping you on yours. I think this is going to be fantastic. So congratulations. I'm really happy for you. I'm proud of you.
Thank you. That means a lot.
Yes,
I'm really excited. I am very excited.
It's really, really great. Just because I'm here and I'm tickled, do you care if I close out the show?
Fine by me.
Send it home.
Yes. Okay, so we want to thank you all so much for tuning in to Game Over. As their producer, I cannot tell you how excited Kirk, Steve, Byrne, Ian, and now Sarah are about this show. These are people that are gaming pretty much every day. They've been doing it for years, and they're so passionate about talking about what's happening in their world, what's happening in their community, and bringing it to you guys. You can follow everyone at game.over.podcast on Instagram. And then, of course, Ian, Kirk, and Steve are their names. So Ian from Game Over, Kirk from Kirk from Game Over, Steve from Game Over, Ian from Game Over. You can follow Byrne at Byrne Gaming, BERN Gaming. And then you can follow Sarah. Sarah, plug yourself, please.
My Instagram name is Lady Danger Chaos, an old college nickname.
It's not Princess Heart Sparkle Wish Pony or whatever it was you said you wanted to
No.
Thank you very much, everyone, for letting me hang out with these guys. I promise you I will try my best not to jump in again. My name is Samantha.
My name is Kirk Paul.
And my name is Sarah, and you just listened to Game Over.
Excellent.
Thank you for listening to Game Over. Brought to you by Whatever You Say Productions, starting conversations since 2018. To learn more, join us at GameOverThePodcast.com.